So what can we do about it? Well, to provide for tourist parking, obviously the solution is to increase the supply of parking. There's also been discussion about charging for parking, and that's an interesting concept that has pros and cons both ways. These are really issues that we have a parking committee, and the parking committee is working through these issues. So I'm not sure as a planning commission we need to delve right into those, but just for you to be aware of issues that may affect your work.
Could you review for us how active the parking committee has been recently?
Not. It's we haven't been real active. It's a member of the town council. I believe Kathy is the town council member. A member of the planning commission, and Christine is the member of the planning commission. Representatives from the park, from the shuttle company, from the town, and then a few business owners.
And when's the last time we met?
I think we met last summer. Was the last time. So it hasn't been real active, but again, we have been meeting for several years on these issues. But I think the focus that we need to have as a planning commission, or you need to have as a planning commission, would be looking at the issues around customer parking for businesses, and I think that's really a function of the parking ordinance. So what can we do in the parking ordinance? We can, when we did the central commercial zone, we investigated some different creative methods for businesses to provide parking. And actually in the central commercial zone, we allowed for things like shared parking and common parking. But that's only in the central commercial zone. Perhaps we can look at expanding those same type of allowances into the village commercial zone. We also explored in-room parking fees, but that was never adopted. Maybe we can come back and look at that and see if that's a viable option at this time. An in-room parking fee would be, say, a business owner doesn't want to or cannot provide the required amount of parking on their property, but they're willing to pay a fee that would contribute to the creation of an off-site parking facility that would be operated by the town. They would say, hey, I will pay X number of fees, so I don't have to provide that X number of parking spaces on my property.
That though doesn't seem like it solves any problems until such time as a parking lot is built.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a chicken and egg problem there.
Yeah, when we took this to the council last time, and actually at the commission, that was the reason why this wasn't adopted, or wasn't instigated, was the concern, hey, we're going to be collecting all these fees, but not having the opportunity to build any parking lots. Well, since that time, the town has been granted an easement on a piece of property to build a parking lot in the Monawe subdivision, which is semi-close to the central commercial zone. It could serve as a satellite parking location. So we do have the ability now to develop parking. Now the problem is we don't have the funds to do it. So now we're on the other side of the chicken and egg.
So now this could potentially, if businesses were interested, this could potentially work.
Potentially. So that's one thing we can do in the ordinance is look at how we allow businesses to meet the parking requirements. The other thing we can do is actually, again, look at how many parking spaces we're requiring for businesses and the methodology that we use to determine that number, and determine, hey, is that really accurate for Springdale or is it not? And what we're going to need to do to determine that is to do a Springdale specific study to see what kind of parking demand individual businesses or create. Now, when we did the parking survey that Dan moved to back in 2007, that was a pretty labor-intensive operation. This type of study that would allow us to get more refined details would be even more labor-intensive. But that's okay because we've got a very active planning commission that loves to participate in these types of studies. So that's
Mike and I were down to help to clean out the dog park.
you were.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of in a nutshell my take on the issues surrounding parking and maybe some areas that you as a planning commission can focus on So again, bring that up to say, do you want to prioritize this as a work item? Is this something that we want to jump to and address? And if so, which of these ideas should we tackle?
I think we need to look at parking because this, I think if we don't, the people in town are gonna say we're not doing our jobs. Parking comes up as an issue,
Perennially.
just constantly.
Omnipresent.
And I'm not, I don't think there's one answer, so I think we have to look at all the different options and see what can work. So from my perspective, I think it would be good to prioritize this as something that we should start looking at.
Yeah, I would agree. I was curious, what is the board decided about that temporary parking lot they built for the road
It's
construction?
going to be open this summer, and it will probably be open next summer. And it will
Temporary
probably be
things
open
have a way of
the
doing
summer
that.
after that. It's good news.
Well, kind of, it's a catch
Kind of, it's a
too.
catch.
Because of
Yeah.
and they're not here. We've talked about
Exactly,
this.
the whole premise of the bus system is that if they're down here in Springdale, they are part of our business community, and if they're up there in the park and they never come down here, they're not. And I would think that the business owners in Springdale would be more active and eager to provide parking in Springdale than they appear to be. That's always been something that's just completely bamboozling to me. Why don't the business owners in Springdale realize where their interest really lies? I've never understood that.
This could be a really interesting, exercise
Yeah.
I mean, this year we had the road
Yes,
construction
that-
thing that messed things up, we had the flooding in the fall and the winter that messed things up. It could be really a good opportunity for us to do some education that said, all right, the park is keeping this parking lot open this summer. We want you to pay attention. Is it making a difference to your business?
Really? Let me kind of state my own preference for years now, and I think Tom will bear this out. I have been an advocate of a town-operated parking facility. Whether or not, probably would charge fees, and I think that it ought to be supported by the business owners collectively. The business owners ought to realize that if there's a place for the tourists to come through here to park in a central facility that they all knew about, so they can all go there and they will be assured that they can get a parking place there, that it will be good for their business. And so they all ought to band together and help us do that. And the town is the obvious entity to operate such a facility.
Well, I guess the question is, how many of those facilities do we have?
One.
Because that might be good for certain businesses in close proximity to that lot, but what about businesses that are on?
Well, what is this Moanavi location?
It's just past the Novel House.
Pardon?
Just past the Novel House.
Oh, okay.
on Paradise.
Springdale is not a huge community. I think you can consider it to be one economic entity. Of course, Zion Park Inn is out in the boondocks, but we'll forget about that. But no, really, I walk to downtown from my house, and it's a lot further than your place. And I think that it is a single entity, economic entity. If you get the people to park in Springdale at all, it will be good for everybody's business, yours included.
Well, I think the walking district, though, is a little bit different.
They're not gonna walk from, let's use Majestic View to the center of town.
I do.
But
All
most
the
people are
townspeople
not.
don't
We
do that.
traditionally are, is that parking spot open? It's closer. Oh, it's 3 feet closer.
I mean,
Wait, let me wait.
Everyone gravitates up to the entrance, and that's where they park. So if you take that parking lot out, people are just gonna continue to pile up as close to the entrance as they can get and just work their way
Well,
back.
unless there was a well-known centralized parking facility that everybody used,
Yeah.
then they park there.
And you can see the shuttle, and the thing, that Springdale has going for it is the fact that the shuttle stops at different places. So you can get off the shuttle on your way back from the park, stop, have dinner, and then go to your car, or stop and go shopping, or continue on. And, you know, the fact that you can get on and off and, you know, there's lots of things along the way. You know, you can get to the other end of town in, you know, just a couple of minutes. So
I think so.
I think there's some, you know, there's some validity to that, because people are gonna drive, you know, as they're driving around the show, they'll say, oh, let's check that out on the way home.
They would.
I know that's what I.
Amen.
The bike trail is going to, when it gets completed through town, that's going to have an impact on parking as well. Because you can't park.
In 2050?
Well,
Bite your toe.
the business that I'm connected with, it's already impacted quite a bit, because it's taken a lot of our parking out of the equation. We just flat don't have any parking.
I've
There's
never
a lot of
seen.
right of way where people used to park.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they stop parking on the, which they will, when
I've never seen more than one car parked there at one time.
I saw 3 the other day.
You're there all the time, and
And they
all I
were
do is
green.
walk by. But,
Yeah.
But Tom, how did you envision this study unfolding to get the type of data that would be useful?
The methodology for doing this is fairly established, so we just, you know, it's a fairly set practice. Unfortunately, like I said, it's fairly labor intensive. What it involves is positioning someone at a parking area, and they sit there over a period of several hours and record the number of trips in and the number of trips out, and how long that car stays there, and it's, you know, that's why I say it's a labor intensive prospect, because we have to go to enough parking lots in town to get a representative sample of what's going on, and do these surveys on enough different days to, you know, to get a truly good random sample. And each one of these surveys would last 2 or 3 hours. So it would be,
So you have to go to all of these locations at the same time, correct?
not necessarily. What you can do is you say, well, today we want to analyze how much demand a restaurant generates. And so you would select, I think the town has sort of like 18, 19 restaurants. You'd select maybe half of those and say, this is the representative sample.